You want me to set that valve back? See, that still wouldn't do too bad, would it? Like that. Yeah, well, actually, see, I'm going to have to get
I think that's a big thing.
yeah, that's right. No, we'll leave the body, we'll raise the body, we'll leave the head at the same time. Because I'm sure it's shoot.
What's up, son? It's in my pouch. It's in that first room we wired.
We're in Chilla here at the Bible College, and there's a lot of activity going on. All sorts of projects are happening right now. This is Bob Mason, as you know, Jeremiah, Paul Holt, and Larry, what exactly going on around the complex right now?
Actually, what we're building here on the top floor is going to be a missionary training center, where we down on the first floor we're training native pastors, native ministers. This is going to be to train American men and women who think they're called to be missionaries.
Yeah,
On the job.
many of them think they're called to be missionaries.
It's going to be the separator.
This is where the proving ground.
Right. What we're going to do, we're going to be teaching in these rooms here. Every room is going to be a nice room with a hot bath, hot water for everything. And then we're going to teach them here for several days. And then from here, we're going to take them out of the room and leave them with local pastors.
All right, lock and load, no vacation.
Walk with them across the mountains, preach in the little churches, live like a missionary to Columbia. Then when they come back here, we'll spend a few more days. And at the end of that, they're going to know whether they're called to be a missionary or need to apply at McDonald's or a wedding job.
Bob, you've been at this 1 year working with Larry down here in Chiapas and Chilla and all through these mountains. What's happening spiritually in this program?
Oh, God is moving wonderfully. As people know, recently there was a lot of trouble down here. What Satan has been bringing, God is moving for good. People that needed to be saved by the hundreds of churches. All of our churches are full, overflowing. And what God's doing here with this Bible school is incredible.
Paul, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, this is Iber Ayala. He is over the Chiapas area, working with Mexico ministers. And he is the registered individual for Church on the Rock in the southern part of Mexico. You know, we've got 28 guys down here that pay their own way to come down, doing hard labor. A lot of these are executive guys, but they're down here for a good attitude test. And I'm very proud of them.
I've been walking on the ledge outside, and Bob is under the supervision of taking down the forms outside. We have plumbing going on outside. It's like you're actually going to have hot water. Electricity's going in and some hot water, and we're going to be able to take a warm shower here at the Bible College. Is that for the first time? First time.
I want to inject this thing right here. What you can't see, we took care of this morning. I gave him money to buy materials involved, money to buy materials. But how many churches? Eight churches. Now, today. So, you get paid all that's going on in the mountain.
Well, 50 people in Mexico.
It's like water.
And people, children are dying of horrible diseases. That is what the statement we believe that. That's what we see. And your help can help this Bible college train more national pastors and also raise up missionaries, facilitators, and also plus for these ministers all over these mountains from your local churches to be involved in what is happening in this ministry. So we pray about what you can do. And you come take a trip. Bob Mason and Lenny Myers, come with us. Come and enjoy the experience down here, just a pure labor of love. There's no other motive for it. It's just to glorify God and help these wonderful people, and also help our heart to be right with God in every way. God bless.
Let me add this right here, so that people that see the change. I don't want them to think that the missionaries are training here all in Mexico, but wherever God wants to send them. So we can take them here for 2-3 weeks. It doesn't make us any difference. They go to China, to Russia, to Africa, or where. It's a proving ground to see whether or not they need to continue in their efforts to become a missionary, or they need to go back to Mexico. So some will stay in Mexico, but many will go to various countries of the world. I want this kind of thing.
That's great. Anything else, Bob?
It's just great to be down here in the beautiful area.
Why don't you say
Good friend.
something- why don't you say something in Spanish, greet the folks?
Sure. Quiero darle gracias a todos los americanos que están participando en este proyecto y en la construcción de todos los templos en Chiapas y en todo el país de México.
Now, what did he say?
We want to thank everybody who's participating in the project down here for all the area of Chiapas and the whole country of Mexico.
God bless you.
Y'all have it all the way down that way?
That's the plumbing going. Yep.
Wait a minute, come here.
That's tough with the wind blowing. Raining on Pastor's camera. What up, kid? Huh?
What's the name hanging in there?
I must.
But I'm going back in the hall.
All right, where are we going with it?
Scott, use big nails.
Mucho grande nail.
One
Bob? It goes in the middle.
In the middle of the video.
Oh, we have to be a knockout. All right.
Okay, Neil, you working on
Go ahead, you're fine. Stretch the shot anyway.
Do you have any live electricity on this side of the building?
It's all from the temporary power. That's the only thing that's up here now.
Say when.
We got
Say hi to Mom.
You remember this one? 9, 17, and 8. Okay.
Say hi to Mom, Bruce.
Oh, this one has no.
Say hi to Mom.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Kay. Does it make any difference to you?
You didn't get that on tape, did you?
Yes, I did. That ugly woman thing? Yeah, sure did.
No, it's 15 over there. 15?
Go ahead, Paul. Apologize to the whole congregation, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to-
No, he only has to apologize to half.
Those right there, are those cups for those? Yes. This one was supposed to be up there.
I'm waiting up.
No? One laying over here.
Oh, I missed it. Do it again, will you?
Next one we're looking for is
Kidding. Kidding.
169.
If I did, you get blood on the lens.
How long is this one? Okay.
We're poor on the last day.
On the last day.
We'll be able to leave if we don't get done.
Pardon? We could pull all this together. If it was a flat house.
Hey, Bob. Hey, David. Yeah. I need 2 more guys up there. Eric's got one right here. Eric, who else can that? Right where old Greg told you.
Point at the other box, Greg.
You run your water underneath you.
There's 5 of them down over here. Okay, I've got one not done, and it is at least 4 feet. Okay. So we got this not done? Yeah. Now, you guys want us to strap this down like it is?
You'll see these numbers start to run as recording, and then
Right in the back of it. Just twist it sideways. Back and forth 2 or 3 times.
Oh, good.
All right.
This stuff documented.
You started talking about all the bad conditions. Oh man, he got look like that.
Who was it? What was it? The one thing that she was asking about? You mean we're not going to have our own personal showers or something like that? It was funny.
You mean we're not going to have showers? What?
Got a flush toilet, I got a bucket.
Yeah, if we get any water, we can do that.
Yeah.
No live.
Post light.
That's our mess.
Whitetail. Yes, more of them? No.
fun.
That's not tight.
It's recording.
Please don't record me taking a bar and I back off, okay? Yes.
Let them have. Every day in the corner of the building.
Okay.
Yeah, smile for the camera.
I can't camera.
Taking a break.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Just get some of this breeze.
I was thinking about hanging that thing up there. Anywhere up there.
For allowing us to go down and serve the Lord here in this very fruitful field here in Chihuahua, and all the years that He's invested in Mexico and here in this state of Chiapas. Appreciate it, Larry.
Thank you for coming.
And we honor you in your labor for our Lord that we all love deeply. This is an Isaiah 58 experience. And Isaiah 58 is not, it is the chosen fast of the Lord. It talks about it in that some had fasted for strife and debate. They, abstained from food. They were striving for wrong motives, fasting for wrong motives. And despite this and wickedness, you shall not fast as you do this day to make your voice to be heard on high. In other words, a lot of people fast just to get God's attention, and that's not altogether a bad thing. Fasting is chasing your soul so that your spiritual health, that you were just right with God. But is this such a fast that I've chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? How many of you feel like you've afflicted your soul? That's really there's one heaven. Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush and to sprinkle sackcloth and ashes under him? That is humbling himself. Humbling himself before the Lord to serve the Lord in whatever capacity he could. Well, I call this a fast, an acceptable day of the Lord. Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, that ye break every yoke? It is not to deal bread to the hungry. Is it not to deal bread to the hungry? And that thou bring the poor, that thou cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and when thou hide not thyself in thine own flesh. Then he goes on to give the promises that you can read there. Literally, these things are going to happen. The other day, Larry from Church of Rock, Harrisonville, Missouri, a number of blankets were purchased. And Larry took me and hauled me, the privilege of going into a little village down the road. And people were just, I'm talking about so elated to get these simple little blankets, but to keep their bodies warm. I mean, it was like Christmas. And they put a Thanksgiving spread on it to show their appreciation. And it's very touching. This, what you men have done and ladies have done this week, is that you made a way for Larry to have a big tool, Bob Mason, because that's what this is. It's a tool to actually have a place where people can come, be trained for ministry, and also nationals who train to go into these mountains and pioneer more churches. Bob was telling me there's over 13,000 villages in Chiapas alone that have no Christian witness, not even a Catholic church. And this organization, this institution right here, is making a way that nationals will be trained to go into the mountains. And also missionaries to come here and learn from a veteran man like Larry Myers. It really takes to be a real missionary and facilitator of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So many people have all sorts of lofty ideas about being a missionary. They have all sorts of opinions about being a missionary. But you've tasted what a missionary does. They have to work. They have to work with their hands. They have to preach. Then they have to go back wherever they can, because the countries they're normally in have no support and raise finances to be able to get the tool, to be able to do the ministry, to be able to reach the people. Very difficult task. Very difficult task. But we have seen something, and people ask you, why did you do this? Well, there's a personal benefit. You humble yourself before the Lord, you did what you could. You took what you had and you used what was in your hand. You know, I remember one of the fishing, and he brought him the fish and the loaves, and it was in his hands. And he took the blessed and fed the multitude. Don did that with his talent in the plumbing, and all those in the plumbing crew. And Tim did that, electrical crew. And Paul did that with the ceiling crew. I appreciate being on the ceiling crew. And other people did it with the cleanup crews, whatever. You did what was in your hand. God's going to take that effort and multiply it hundreds and hundreds of times over into other people's lives. All right? And it's a neat thing that we can begin to have this type of synergy. Combination of multiple energy is synergy. People begin to put their talents and abilities together and make a greater impact together than we can do by ourselves. So this is done now. There's a great victory. And I really wanted, personally, a victory to be under our belt. And that's, what was that? Almost like the last mile of the marathon. The doctor and I was talking about it. When that last bucket of cement was poured, it was like, we did it now. It's done. And the victory's been won. You see, and there'll be other churches that come and other people that come to follow on this effort to complete all of this and to go back. But the real thing that God put in my heart to say about Isaiah 58, honestly, is that we realize that our efforts really count. One of the things that Larry said, and I want to repeat it, up on the mountain last year, he said, you guys go back and be the greatest local church people you can possibly be. Because our success back home will enable us to be more successful in this part of the world and other parts of the world. You need to succeed with a purpose. Every one of you need to be massively successful in life. Because if you're successful, then you'll have the resources to be able to do more for the kingdom of God. And that gives a purpose behind working hard, accumulating wealth or whatever. It gives a purpose. So it's really neat, as pastor of the North Church, to have this group of people that came on this trip. Because I've seen other teams, and our other teams were good. But I want to say personally, this was the greatest team that we've ever had, that I've seen thus far. Now, the other type of work was different. But this was aggressive work. And some of you worked. I watched you to a point that you were almost falling down. And I saw that. And it motivated me to work that hard too. Because I saw it in their faces. I could see it. And I said, these guys are pouring out their life here for just these few days. And they're doing it for the Lord, because nobody would do it for any other reason. They're doing it for the Lord. They love God. And God has done some great works in our lives. So what I want us to do is pray a moment. Then I want you to share. I'm going to have Paul do our testimonial time, okay? And I want you to share what the Lord has spoken to your heart about when you do this. And let's stand and don't hesitate. Father, Isaiah 58 is such an important part of our lives that we learn how to humble ourselves, God. And everything that we're too proud crowd or too big to do something simple to benefit other people that you, Father God, gave your Son for. You love these precious people in these mountains. And God, we thank you for the privilege of serving Him, helping Him, giving assistance to Larry Myers and Bob Mason and all the hundreds of national pastors that cover these mountains, reaching these people with the gospel. We thank you for the privilege of being here. This was not something, Lord, that we were abused. This is something that is a great privilege. Lord, thank you for allowing us to, for a moment, to love without any hidden agenda. To love, Lord, without any personal gain. Thank you for this, Lord Jesus. Bless each person in this circle. Let them never be the same again. Lord, let them from this day forward, let their lives count. Wherever they are, and whatever they do. Lord, till we come back as a group again to this field, Antioch, or wherever, to serve you in love without any agenda. Bless, we pray, and touch our hearts deeply, Lord. Let us have something come out of our lives good for this work. In Jesus' name, amen.
I found it interesting when we were working the last few days after you shared Isaiah 58, it's become a theme of us. We look at each other up on the roof or wherever. Well, Isaiah 58 was real. It was working in us. It was a part of us. We worked hard. We got so much. Yesterday when Larry and Pastor and I went to see this little community just north of here, 10 miles or so, it was interesting to me, really brought home to me again why we do this. As we sat there and saw these little Indian people, we were there at the church to give blankets and another church, a church over our church had paid for. You look at the people and you really focus on why we're here. We're here because of the people. They don't have what we have. They don't have the ability to do some things that we do. But they're so. They're just as important in God's eyes as we are. They were singing one of the songs in the Indian dialect. They had a little group of ladies, if you remember, maybe 6 or so ladies got out the Indian songbook and they were singing. One of the songs we could pick out by just the tune is I've Got a Mansion on the Hilltop, an old Christian song. And Pastor and I looked at each other, and I think Larry as well. We were talking about what do you think they visualize as their mansion over the hilltop? And you think about that, and their mansions are going to be equal to ours. And you know, they would go to any of our houses and think that they were in there. But yet, their mansions and their rewards are going to be just as great as ours. Then I heard them as they sang another song. They were singing "How Great Thou Art" in their Indian dialect. It was just touching and moving. It brought home to me again as I come down here for attitude adjustments. I think each of you can relate to that. It brings home again why we're here, just because of the people. And I want to thank all of you. You know, we had Larry agree this is the best work group that we've seen anywhere. Larry has a lot of churches come down here and bring people. Last year when we went up in the mountains, we adopted the slogan, "No Blinding." We didn't even have to mention that this year. You guys that have been here many times, I look around, you know, we have a lot of 3-timers that have been back here the 3rd time. And you find some obvious benefit of coming back. And now I think Isaiah 58 really hits home as to why we do this. We adjust ourselves spiritually. We're going to go back and be better Christians, better family members, better church members. When somebody complains about the temperature of the church or the selection of song service, you're probably going to punch them. So anyway, it's moving to me, and this is why I enjoy coming down here to refocuses. I was talking to Don. Don kept reaching for the beaver during the week. I haven't had a phone call. I haven't had to handle a problem except wondering if that roof was going to make it. No faxes, no phones, no traffic. It's been good. You can clear your mind. So it's been a great week, and I appreciate every one of you coming down in behalf of Larry and the people that do, because we got to saw the people. Those of you who came to the service got to see the people, and Scott was touched. She said he was crying before he got a chance to go to speak at the service. You got to see why we come down and do this, and why Larry has been down here for a number of years, and why Bob now his heart's been touched to be involved here and to help Larry. It's because of you. So I just enjoyed coming with you guys. It's been a great trip. Why don't you, if someone else would want to give some impression, some testimony of how they were touched during this time, why don't you want to go around the room, or you want to why don't you just say something, Paul, and start off?
I guess I didn't realize that I see that these people are so happy and they have nothing, and I think it just makes you think about that sometimes you're not happy and you have tons more stuff than they do. And I realized that, like you guys were talking about, that we came down here for attitude adjustment, and just like you learn not to complain as much about stuff, because once again you see them, they have nothing, and they just as happy as they can be.
What worked for you? That's good.
For me, it was when, after the service was over, to see all those little kids out there. When we started handing out the candy and watch their reaction, over something so small, such a great feeling inside to be able to do something that put us, I don't even know how to explain the feeling that gave me to see their faces and watch their reaction over something that to us would be so small as a piece of candy or a piece of paper or a pen or something. It just seemed like that made their day. It was the greatest thing. I think that was the great feeling for me. Look at everything all the world that was done on the greatest things on their faces.
I just kind of go along with what Paul said. When you think about our lifestyle in heaven, in these people, like when we were at the service, I thought, what a revelation heaven is to them. You know, I mean, they live a certain way. They worry about their meal tomorrow, not whether or not, they can afford the new car, or whether or not their air conditioner is going to put out enough. All the different things that we worry about, and all the things that we attain to. A lot of us in the States, we try to make heaven on earth, and compared to the rest of the world, we haven't. And sometimes we get our priorities out of whack, and our spiritual life suffers because we're so driven to make heaven on earth. And for me, it was a realization to stop and think, you know what? I got to start putting my priorities back to where they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? We got to get our head on straight and understand we're all going to live forever, and we're going to be in glory. And we have a reward that's coming, and so we need to work for the kingdom, not just for our kingdom. And it was a realization to me. And I thought, what an incredible thing. These people, they think of heaven in such an incredible way. And we're also worried about trying to make earth heaven. Like Pastor always says, this isn't heaven. And you come down here and you go, it ain't heaven. But when we go back home, it's still not heaven. And we got a lot of work to do. And we need to keep our priority in our spiritual life right, so that we can continue to reach out to those who know us.
Personally, it struck me the first time we were here. I don't say this to bring glory to Larry or anything. Larry prayed, and I realized how hard my heart was compared to his. And as you stay down there, it seems like it just softens your heart. You get so hard trying to deal with everything that we do. Then when Scott was preaching, and I was watching these little kids playing the door, and I was like, for them, this is the best thing they'll see all week, probably, being here in this building. And then when he told me the women were bringing chicken eggs up there for an offering, I'm up there in salt ice. Can you imagine that one chicken egg would be your offering? That's an attitude adjuster up there.
For me, it was learning that, I guess, the revelation that there's more to being a missionary or involved in missions than once a week or one time a year, 1 week a year type involvement. And seeing how, all these people come up to Larry and say, "Brother Larry," and, immediately smile. And then Larry's first reaction to them is to grab their hand and then pull them in and give them a big old hug. And just the love and the camaraderie that he has with all the people here. I mean, there's more to it than just come down here and working and sweating. It's the love of the people and the love of the people of God that is being exposed and exploited there. I really appreciate that. I just want to thank you, Larry.
There's a song by a girl and it's talking about a homeless woman. And the lyrics are basically says, "Sweet little lady, your soul is worth gold. Don't believe all the lies you've been told." And I was just thinking, Larry talks about in his book about two mountains, and how they said he was too old to strike out, but he believed God and he had faith. And to think about our own lives when we each have our own call. If we don't follow, go down into the valley. The work that he's done here, that might not, happen. And so it's just cool that somebody has enough gumption, when all the odds are against him, to gut it out and not to give up. It's a neat thing. I guess for me, the first couple of days was kind of the attitude adjustment, but then after that, I really got to be friends with a couple of the neighbors. Not close friends, but when we talked about what our lives were like and what their dreams were, and what their impressions of us were, what we were kind of like that. Started off and I saw the contrast between what they look at and what we do. But I'm leaving thinking, I just really went, "Jim, how different are we?" It was just like I was talking to some other 19 or 20 year olds, just some younger buddies of mine in Texas, and come to the realization that we're not want to do anything. We want friendship and love and forgiveness and have the same God, and it's pretty cool. It's not all around the world that I wish from Jesus Christ.
I guess for me, this hospital we don't have that new computer. We're like, we need to get this, and people down here, they don't have crayons, and they don't have paper down here. We go to that, and they're getting schools now, and they start to go to school.
I guess, kind of like Eric, I made friends with a couple of guys and they didn't know a word of Spanish and got him and started teaching me a bunch of things. And he doesn't know a lot of English either, but so I was kind of telling him my rendition, but we're trying to both understand together. It's kind of neat developing that relationship and just trying to understand basic things like how do you say son in English, how do you say it in Spanish. But it's really neat just talking with him and a couple of other guys. I feel like I really see the love touching you and loving you and just really being forthright with you. And I think it's just the neatest thing for all these people because they're very open. They don't have anything to hide. I mean, their life is very simple. We walk up the hill today and took pictures of them and just see where they live. It's like a little hut. It's nothing. Again, I mean, my attitude has been completely and totally readjusted. I work 60 hours a week with computer work. And it's just, it's got a whole new perspective now. My life has changed spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, every which way you can name it in the last 5 days. So, what can I say?
I guess the first thing for me was just being accepted by a group of men. Getting to actually work with a group of men who really love God and really work, not just talk about it. Getting to work with them, like Pastor, Paul, and Larry, that lead by example, and just to go out there and be a part. And even when I do this, usually I go check eyes, but this time I didn't check eyes or any medical clinics, but just lift the concrete, pour that in. That was hard. I had to leave my comfort level. My comfort level was checking out. I knew that gives me my importance in life. I know how to do that. But I had to leave that part of my life and go to, do something else. But when you leave your comfort level, or when I leave my comfort level, it's like spiritual cleansing. It just totally cleans you. And you just become a new creation. And it just becomes to have the opportunity to come down here and be a body servant to these people. Because in reality, I feel like we're just slaves and we're serving him. And Scott, I was listening to one of the sermons one time. He said, are you going to make your life count for something, or are you just going to suck up oxygen for 75 years and then follow the good one day? If you're not serving others, you're serving yourself. And if you're serving yourself, you're not really living life. You're not living life. So, it's all about making your life count for something. And making your life count for serving. Making your life count for something to serving God and serving other people. And that is truly my count.
Dr. Neal was sharing with me one time, I'll say this real quick, he worked with that blood most of the time. He said, Monday morning I'm going to be in a suit and tie, I'm going to be checking eyes. As I get up and look at those eyes, I'm going to look, there's going to be that scratch. That scratch I got from lifting concrete, but taking up on that road, and he says, I'm going to be able to have a pleasant memory about that scratch. People won't know where I got those scratches or how I got them. I'll know. And I thought that was it's a good character of a guy that can come down here, step out of his comfort level, which most of us have to, and accomplish something else.
I want to express my appreciation to the church in general. What we have here is not made or is not accomplished by one man, but I appreciate the church, North Church in general. I appreciate Pastor Kennedy in getting involved. And I appreciate the individuals of the church. The church has supported the work. Many of the individuals in the circle here have supported the work, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you paid your way down here. Don had to pay 4 times. That's a lot of money to spend in fair, Plus you took a week of your time. It was a costly thing. So each individual person, I want to thank you for that part. Then I want to thank you for the work that you did. Because what we accomplished this week would have taken our little crew around here months and months and months to do it if we would have had the funds. Not only did you provide the funds for what we've done this week, but you also came and did the work. So what more could we ask for? So I really deeply appreciate you. I appreciate Bob being here in the training process to be a missionary for the Lord. He's got a lot of ground to cover, but he's starting out at a run. I started out, it took me 10 years to get to a trot while hitting it running is going to do great things for the kingdom of God. He made a lot of mistakes, but we all do. We're going to lift him up, and he's going to accomplish something in his life, as Neil said. His life is going to count for something. And something beautiful is that who knows which one of these young men came down here, one of Don's son, Tim's son, who knows which one is going to take Bob's place down the road. This is a continual thing until the Lord comes. Don't be surprised if God doesn't touch the heart of one of these young men. I want to quickly tell you one story. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. But a number of years ago, I was in the northern part of Mexico. A group of kids, and they were literally kids from 12 to 16, came down from Florida. One young boy is 14 years old, and he brought his trumpet. And he was real sissy. He just played his trumpet. But when we left after a week in the desert, a lot of secret there, Paul. When we left, he looked at me and he said, God called me to be a missionary. You hear that all the time. And I loved him, I loved him, and I said, I'm going to pray for you. It was 8 years, I think it was, went by, and I was preaching in Florida. This handsome, nice-looking young man, 22 years of age, came up to me and said, do you recognize me? You know who I am? I said, no. He said, I'm Roger. He said, you remember 8 years ago I told you I was going to be a missionary? He said, I just graduated from college. I'm on my way to Japan. I want to be a missionary in Japan. So who knows when God is going to touch somebody and they're going to yield to the call of the Lord. So from deep in my heart, I appreciate each one of you so very much. God just richly bless you for what you've done physically and financially and spiritually.
Larry, we love you.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, for me, it's been a real attitude adjustment. You get the grind of the daily thing at home, and I tell you what, coming up here and working with these people and blessing them. And what I really got out of the whole thing is Larry's up here and he's bringing these people hope. That's what he's really doing, is bringing them hope. And I just appreciate being involved with somebody that's bringing somebody some hope. I want to go back and work hard at it.
Wonderful.
I don't know where to start. Pastor Dean talked about Isaiah 58 this week. Back last summer, one of the intercessory prayer groups at church had a word from God for Catherine and myself, and it was Isaiah 58. That we would do these things. And the rest of us will be here, and we're all together, and then the extensions and what it takes to be here. He provides every time you turn around and you think, well, we can't do this, then he provides. He's always there. He always sees the need met. We don't know where this is going to take us. Pastor Bob, back in February, when you accepted the call there and at care breakfast, and you announced it, and I walked up to you and I said, I'm yours. Amen. And the only thing I know to say right now is one word, and that's surrender. I'm here. You're here.
Last year, Charles back that evening, as we sat at our dinner table, God moved my heart for these people. Before I ever saw one of them, and you see the pictures of God, it turned my heart down. The hardest thing for me, yeah, it was hard physical labor and we aren't as strong as you guys and stuff. But the hardest thing for me was the fast of my children. And Sunday, when we got down there, it was really hard for me. But I knew that I had to stick it out, and I knew that we were supposed to be here and that God had called us to this. But one of the things that was really good for this week, aside from the Indians, is watching God. And I'd like to read something This is from Matthew 25. Starting at 31, it says, "When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left. And the king will say to those on his right hand, 'Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me.' And the righteous will answer to him and say, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you?' And the king will answer and say to them, 'Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me.'"
I don't even know where to start. This has just been a life-changing experience. I have worked really hard and loved every single minute. It was amazing to me how much work was done in such a short amount of time. But what really amazed me was how hard they worked. The church that I was in Hot Springs sent people to Belize, and they went 2 or 3 times a year, and they came back and they would talk about, how hard they had worked and how the Belizeans would stand there and watch them. And so I didn't know what to expect from down here. And that was what blessed me the most, I think, was how hard they worked. And then today to find out that they hired the Mexicans to work for $5 a day. And I make more money in a month than they make all year. She tore me up. It's just, and they are so happy.
May I inject just one thought to say that today is the only day that we give Mexican anything evening. That was just the extra ones for the congregate all week long. They gave out of their own hearts and they worked with us.
For me, it's last year when we went up in the mountains, when we built that church and we put the roof on the other one, both times to see the joy and the happiness of those people, that what little we had done, and accomplished things that they couldn't accomplish, and that amount of time they didn't have the funds, but moreover they wouldn't have built the churches anyway in that period of time. And to know that when we were down here, that obviously we could each send $600, and we could build a church almost for that up in the mountains. But the people here, as the pastors last year told us, your money is one thing; they need money. But when we show up down here, they know that they have brothers in Christ in America. They know that we're not just that it's just not throwing money at the poor, that we actually care for them. And when they sit in these churches or they sit in these buildings that we build and work in, that they can think about knowing that there's somebody somewhere that they're in agreement with them in prayer, and that that we will be their brothers in America. They won't remember our names, they say, but they'll remember that there were Americans that came down that actually loved them. And that touched me. And that's why I'm back again this year.
I guess every year it seems like I've been in construction my whole life, in and out, all different phases of it. And what we did today as a group, we're not a fine-tuned construction machine, are we? We're not well-oiled. Here we are, we're just here. Well, what we are is a willing hand that we've put out, and God has just anointed that hand and that work and prospered the work of our hands as we've done this. And what I guess he's driving home to me is that we're 28 people, and look at the effect that we've had with God's anointing and his prospering our hands. What can we do as a local church of 5,000? If they would just understand that it's not based on your own abilities and your own capabilities, but it's just that willing hand. It's just saying, yes, I will. And he will take care of the rest. We just must be obedient, and he'll do the work for us, and he'll work through us. And that, I guess, is what I realize more this time than I ever have, is that it's not relying on our ability, but just on our willingness.
I want to thank Tim, too. This year I've turned over the responsibility of him getting the names and people on the list, making sure the money was collected. It's a big job, and Tim did a good job.
Before we go to the next one, I want to say too that I appreciate all the things you brought down here from the States. Things that we couldn't have bought here, much better quality. One of the reasons things went so smooth, you brought so much of fittings and equipment and tools and all, those were wonderful. So whoever's responsible for all that, thank you deeply for that.
You think there's another square E breaker anywhere?
Oh, thank you.
One of the things I'd like to add to what Joe was saying too is, last year we went up on the mountain and built that church. To me, what stuck with me, I guess, Larry had said something about it, that I guess for the longest time they kept saying, laughing at them, laughing at those people. Yeah, you believe in God. Yeah, but where's your church? You keep telling us there's going to be a church here. Where's your church? And then what happened in one day? Wham. That's what's neat is you look at them and just say, devil. That's because that's going to be just a lie to those people. Now, every time they pass by that church, wow, it wasn't there yesterday. What happened? Also, something Paul had said on the synergy. One thing with landscape chemicals is like effectiveness of one chemical is maybe 80% on something. Another chemical, it's 80%, but mix them together, and it's 100%. And it's the same way, I think, with in church. Each one of us may only be 80% effective, but all of us together doing our part, we're a lot stronger. Same thing with Larry. Larry can't do it by himself. He can be effective, yes, but to how much? But when all of us put together and give our part, what Tim was saying with a hand, just a willing hand, how much more can he do through us?
Do you think maybe the people in Monte Bonito might have felt like Moses at Noah when it started raining? See, I told you.
It's raining.
Well, first thing, I just want to say thanks to God, to allow me to come to this place again. I want to say thanks to the corporation I work for, because basically they pay me to come here. The other thing is, when I saw some of the people here that I saw last year, Pastor Beto and his wife, Loli, come and hug me and kiss me, and they say, well, I was praying for you to come again. So, that really touched me, because you don't realize how much they care about you. They even invite me to their house. I have a real good time with them. I have the Chenelo costumes, what they wear. I don't know what to say regarding that, but I think I want to bring my family here, to know that these people here and have a better attitude than, just to see how they live and care more about what we have here.
Well, when I first got out and got into Mexico, we got into a car accident. got him to drive around and entered the core part and everything. And we're all spoiled, and we got all lections for everything. We got microwaves, TVs, remotes, everything. And we'll see them just like walking around, carrying things all over their shoulders and everything, doing what they can. They're all happy and everything. We're all complaining about how bad everything is. We're all lucky, man. We just don't realize it.
I'm one of the younger ones here that came, and some of y'all know my dad. I work for my dad, and he doesn't pay me. And so, what I'm getting to is I can't give a financial offering for missions or for the church. And so I come down here and I give a physical offering because that's the only offering I can give. And the Lord looks at that as equal because some people who might not have physical capabilities can give a financial offering, and vice versa, like myself. You come down here and you give a physical offering, and you give an offering of prayer, and you get blessed just as much, and God looks at it the same way. It's really about it.
I agree with your dad, though, that it shouldn't.
That's probably the contrary.
I just praise God that He allowed me to be part of this here. He had put in my heart a desire to do missions about 6 months ago. And I didn't know who to contact or what to do, so I just prayed and waited. And as I look back, I connect the dots to see how He got me here. And it's just incredible. To see the love, His love in these people, in this church in the day, that service is very moving. It's great for me. I just praise Him and thank Him for allowing me to be a servant to these people here, for knowing all you guys.